Today I wanted to do a follow-up on the performance of the Anbernic RG552 emulation handheld. Well, there was a lot of requests for games to test out in the comments on my previous video. If you haven't checked out my initial review, I'll put a card up top. But I went and picked a few of the games that were suggested that I saw multiple requests for. And if I don't show a game you requested, I still hope this footage and my thoughts will give you a better idea of what this system is capable of doing. Now, I wanted to try capturing footage from the RG552 via the HDMI port that it has, and that worked pretty well. But there was a lot of times in the past and currently with these types of devices, my capture card just doesn't like the audio coming out of them. So some of my footage may have messed up or no audio at all when I show footage that was captured that way. But I also did film footage of playing the games on the system as a handheld to mix it up and give you the actual game audio. Either way, though, all the footage of how the games look and run is exactly how it appeared to me in person. So just a quick note. Now, I went back and tested some games for Sega Saturn, GameCube, and PSP. First up, Sega Saturn, which appears to me to be emulated rather well when compared to some of the other systems on the RG552. So I played Radiant Silvergun, and I played it through the Yaba Senshiro emulator. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, I don't care. Which is the emulator on this device that has given me the best results for Saturn. So that's one, thing to keep in mind there. You may want to switch to that emulator. So this game, it seemed to run well to me. No graphics issues or glitches. It appears to be running full speed when I compared to footage of the game on an actual Saturn. But you guys always wind up finding, some little things here and there that I may have missed. So that's the reason why I share footage. So you can see what the actual performance is. And let me know if there's anything that seems off with any of these games if I don't mention it. Be really curious to see if there's something that I may have missed. Now, next up on Saturn was Dragon Force. I don't recall ever playing this game, so I did have to wind up looking up a little tutorial on what you're supposed to do. But from what I understand, some people had mentioned this game as it sometimes has a hard time being emulated due to all the sprites that wind up being on screen at once. So I was watching a walkthrough of a guy playing this game off of a CRT or something, and he was enthusiastic as all hell while he played it, and it got me more interested. So this is one I'll probably dedicate some more time to in the future, possibly in a live stream. It was a really fun game. But here, via the emulation on the RG552, there appeared to be no issues with how the game ran or looked. No graphics problems. Getting into battles with tons of troops didn't appear to slow things down at all. So that was really good. Now, next up was Panzer Dragoon 2. I wound up playing this one a bit longer than I anticipated, as it ran really well, and I just like the game. No slowdown, no glitches, nothing real big to report on my end. It's a fun game, and it played decently well here. Now, moving on to PSP real quick, I tested out Tomb Raider Anniversary, and while some of the footage may look okay if you're not familiar with the game, it was actually running fairly slow, and even slower when there's a lot of stuff going on screen at once. Some instances it's running decent, but it's still a little tiny bit slow, and then it just gets slower and slower. Then it speeds back up, and it gets slower. It's just the way it is. Changing some resolution settings and frame skip can help with troublesome PSP games to make it a bit more smoother. PSP is really a mixed bag here. Some games will run exceptionally well, even if you don't manipulate any settings, you just leave it to the defaults, and then some games will just be glitchy no matter what you change the settings to. Now, trying out God of War for the PSP was also one that benefited from frame skip and lowering the resolutions. It does start to be a bit more playable, but it's still very slow, and it has that same problem. Little instances of where it's kind of smooth and then it just slows down. Just depends on what's going on screen. Lowering the graphics further may improve games like this, but then it just starts looking like a pixelated mess. So for me, you might find a couple games that run extremely well. Grand Theft Auto plays very well on this. I didn't have any issues with that at all. and I don't recall changing any settings. It just, works fine. So, yeah, real big mixed bag. Real big one. Now, moving on to GameCube. I played Eternal Darkness, and it's kind of like PSP. There'll be parts where the game seems to be okay, some cutscenes, some playable areas, but then it just starts to get random with how slow it runs. I tried manipulating a few settings, and I wasn't getting results I was happy with this game. Just the way it was. Sometimes it seems okay, but then when you compare to actual footage of the game, you're like, holy crap, it seems to be running smoothly, but then the timing is way off. It's like certain instances, it's hard to tell that it's slow, but it is slow. So that's just one thing to point out. GameCube's going to be kind of hard here. There'll be a few things maybe you find that run okay. Like Animal Crossing is another one I tested out. It may be a bit more playable for some, just because of the type of game it is, but it still has some of that slowdown, and the music and sound effects do not sound right to me. It still runs fairly smooth, and some may not be bothered by it, but it's far from 100%. So for me, like GameCube on this device is a no, just a big no. Now, while the RG552 is definitely more powerful than previous Anbernic handhelds, it's still worth keeping your expectations in check. That's what my videos are about. Like, if I like it or you don't like it, or I don't like it and you like it, I just want to show you the information so you can make your own decisions on these things. I mean, the power with this being upped, it definitely helps with a lot of things that were troublesome before, but it doesn't magically make this thing the ultimate handheld. I mean, if you're fine with its price and knowing, with some of the things like I've shown in my past two videos, Sega Saturn and Dreamcast run way better, on this than it did with the earlier handhelds from Anbernic, it might be worth it to you. It might not, but you're getting a little bit more, but really not a whole lot. I mean, the handheld is capable of a lot of cool things and does have some nice little features. For sure, recommend going back, watching my first video on this if you missed out on that. A lot of information there. It's a nice handheld, but yeah, just know what you're getting yourself into. Be prepared. It's quite a bit more money than previous handhelds from this company. I mean, less than $100 more, but still, man, like, we're not counting pennies. We're counting, tens of dollars here. So for some, it may not be worth it, and I just hope to give you guys as much information as possible. So really do appreciate every single one of y'all hanging out with me today, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.